welcome to Greenlight Your Own Life podcast with Tiana today. I am your host. I'm so excited this is happening. I've been talking about it. I've been working on ways to make it come to life. And today is the day that we are making it happen together. How lovely. So Greenlight Your Own Life. This statement came to me about a year ago. Why? Because the industry took a massive shift. My life took a massive shift and I had to wake up and really look myself in the mirror and start saying yes to myself and my dreams and my vision and not wait for someone else's permission to do so. And it sounds crazy because I've been in this for quite some time, but everything happens in shifts and chapters. And no matter where you are in your career, you still have to remind yourself who you are and what you stand for. And sometimes that fades away when we get so inundated with the gig life and other people's priorities. And when you finally take a second to give yourself that same energy, you start moving differently. You start moving with better intentions. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but that's what's happened to my life. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that I've been able to have this time to reset. And that's why this podcast is really here, is to tell those stories. I have a story, and as I share my story, I realize other people have one too. So this is a podcast to hear what they have gone through. And it brings me so much joy that I can make this happen. I actually have been doing and greenlighting my life all my life. I just didn't have a term for it. I didn't know that this was a thing until I gave it a name. And today the name is Greenlight Your Own Life. But really, when I was young, I wanted to dance. I wanted to dance so bad. Man, my mom put me in dance class. My grandma put me in dance class. And I remember the first concert they took me to was MC Hammer. And it was general admission. And he said, I want some kids up here on the stage. And my godmother put me on her shoulders. And she just rushed to the front, got me up there. And that moment probably changed me forever because I felt what spotlights felt like at a very, very early age. And I wanted that feeling to last forever. But that didn't necessarily happen to that capacity in Iowa for quite some time, but that didn't stop me from plugging myself into theater and dance and palms and all that stuff. And my mom took me to New York at 9. And then I knew, I looked at her, I said, hey, Mommy, I'm going to move here. And she said, okay. And that's what I did out of high school. I went to New York and I tried my attempt at being a professional dancer. And it was tough. It was really, really tough. I was young. I didn't have a lot of money. My mom probably paid for my cell phone. But I think when you're that young, it's okay to just go for it. I stayed out late at night. I was young. I was working at Red Bull. You know those people on the street? Well, I don't know if they still have them now, but I was one of those street marketers that was trying to convince people, hey, Red Bull's going to give you energy, I promise. Some people took it, some people didn't. Now we know what happened. It worked. And then when I was done with my shift, I would go to Broadway Dance Center and I found my people. Oh, I found my people. And thank goodness, because I was just out, trying to figure it out. And New York's a big city, lots of folks. And I'm from Iowa, just doing my thing. And when I found my people, it was really exciting. I was in dance as much as I possibly could be. I went to every class that was available and that I could afford. And then when it came time to really audition, I didn't book anything. I was so sad. I could not book a job if anyone paid me to try my best. But I did work on the WNBA. That was fun. I found, a family there as well. But I wanted the Michael Jackson. I wanted Madonna. I wanted those gigs. And I just kept getting cut right at the very end. So I was down. I was out. And then Rhapsody and Kevin Maher, they said, hey, there's this thing called Carnival. Do you want to go? It's in LA. I have no idea how I paid for it. I have no idea how I got here. I'm in LA now. I have no idea how it happened, but I said yes. And that green light, again, that moment changed my life too, because when we hit that stage at Carnival and did our thing, we shook the house, honey. We shook it. I'm so glad I did it too, because Brian Friedman was in the audience, Wade Robson was in the audience, and a couple days later, they were having an audition for Britney Spears' I'm a Slave for You VMA and music video. And at that point, I had all the confidence in the world. I did what I had to do on that on that audition, and it was packed. It was so many people. We ended up heading back to New York. We didn't get the confirmation if we made it or not in the moment. So we went back, we were in dance class, and my friend and I, Ramon, we found out at the same time that we booked it. We really, we went and we did it. And that was really exciting because I was then performing in New York, where I kept getting cut from, because that was the VMA. That's where the VMAs was at. So it just shows that in those moments where you feel like you have nothing else to give, if you keep pushing, you will be met with what is your true destiny. And I had a great time, not only dancing for her, I danced with Christina Aguilera. I was in the Dirty video. I had a 10-year career as a professional dancer. We went around the world. We did every type of media, from the music videos to tours and filming the content for the tours and everything in between. And I loved it. I really, really loved it. But at the same time, everything has its moment of ending. And at the edge of my dance career, I started feeling kind of like, what's next? What is supposed to happen after I dance like this? I can't dance like this forever. And that's okay. That's a good feeling to have. When those feelings kind of stir up, it shouldn't make you feel like you're in the wrong place. It should feel like a growth spurt. And that's what it was. Most people would have choreographed at that point. And I just didn't, it wasn't in my heart and soul to do that. I knew I wanted more. I just couldn't figure out what it was exactly. I was starting to put myself out there on YouTube. You know, there was a little bit of another Greenlight Your Own Life moment there. I would put content out from tour. I had a fun a fun show called Gyogo, Get In or Get Out. That was fulfilling. Didn't pay anything, but it was still fulfilling. Creative outlets are super healthy. But the business of dance itself was just not as fulfilling. I was growing a bit jaded. I wanted more responsibilities. I wanted more money. Something just wasn't sitting right with me. And I wanted to work on teams. I wanted to either be an assistant to the choreographer or the creative somehow, but it wasn't happening. I could not bust through that door. And even though I didn't want to be a choreographer, I somehow found myself casted as an on-camera choreographer for 2 shows, High School Musical, Get in the Picture, and Dance Your Ass Off. And I loved it. I was like, oh, this is a whole new perspective of dance. Without me, doing all the steps, I'm still a part of the world. And as I was working on these shows, I found myself in producer conversations. And I realized afterwards that not only was I choreographing and I was speaking on camera, but I was also understanding what it takes to build a show from behind the scenes. And my agent said, Brian Friedman is looking for an assistant for America's Got Talent. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I was eager. I wanted it. I said, put me in, coach. And I'm so down for an interview, because when you audition, when you interview for things, you fight for what you want. If it was just handed to me, I don't know if I would have delivered as thoroughly as necessary if it was just given to me. So I booked it. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, agent. And I worked with Brian as his assistant creative director for a long time. We did so many cool shows, AGT, X Factor, UK, USA. And then I started working with other creative directors on The Voice and the VMAs and so many things. I just kept saying yes. And it was a really fun time, because it was like a new development of what this creative director team space was. And I probably said yes in moments that I didn't know what I was saying yes to, but that's okay. I almost considered myself a paid intern just because I kept learning. On every gig, I would learn so much. So that led to me getting an offer as an assistant on Masked Singer. And I said, yeah, this is my language that I speak. Happy to do it. And then it came a time where they offered me to be the creative director of the show. And it was one of those moments that I said, I could either say, no, I'm too scared. I'm not worthy. But I said yes. And that was a Greenlight Your Own Life moment, because I said yes to myself in a moment that I truly I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I've got this and I'm going to run with it to the finish line with flying colors. I knew I had a lot to figure out, even though I had all the experience as an assistant, but to be the leader, that's a bigger plate of responsibilities that I was given the opportunity to say yes to, and I did it. And thank goodness I did. I was there for many years. I had a female team. We were diverse. We were bold, and we got it done. And I'm so proud of the work that we created. And that same team was behind the TV show, the TV special, Dick Van Dyke, 98 Years of Magic. And it got an Emmy. There was so many awesome things happening, and I worked on the Grammys, and I saw so many outlets of what this creative life could be. And I'm just happy that saying yes led me to one, to one, to one, to one, to the next. Now, where it gets real, and let me know if you ever feel like this, because that feeling of at the edge of my dance career, it came back. It came back of, I don't know if this is still fulfilling me. And I wasn't vibing with the industry as I had maybe 5 years prior to that. So much so that I parted ways with the show. I parted ways with my manager. I parted ways with people in my life that we were clicking. It wasn't making sense. It wasn't adding up. And when those relationships and those dynamics took a turn, everything kind of it was a halt, and it was scary, and it was daunting. And I had to rewire everything inside of me to once again remind myself, who are you? Who am I, Tiana Gandelman, the creator, the performer, the mom, the wife, the leader, the joy. I felt like my joy was gone a little bit. And that took a lot of support from my husband and my family, emotionally, financially. I had meltdowns all the time. I was just breaking. I felt so fragile in that moment. And those times, I hate that it has to get to that point. But when it was happening, I thought, I have got to figure something out, because this is not the life that I chose for myself and for everybody around me. And I decided to start pouring my energy into creative outlets again. And who was down to do it with me, I was so excited, because not everybody was down to say yes with me. But I created something called Project Fabulous. It was a passion project for women, by women, and produced by women. It was a beautiful thing. I cry every time I watch it. My daughter loves it. Then I was even more proud to make something that she loved. That was awesome. I created a Allergic to Pop Stars. It was a clothing line. That was a creative expression. It didn't go far, but it felt good to do something. I put stuff on Etsy, and then I really started building my presence on social media to find out who I was again. And I'm so glad that I did, because if I had not really just pushed through and looked myself in the mirror and reminded myself of all the great things that I've accomplished, we would not be where we are today. This podcast would not happen right now had I not decided to say, I'm going to greenlight my own life. And it is in full bloom because I did. I was going on Instagram Live weekly. I built an email list, and I was being unapologetically vulnerable in those letters. I still am. And now I can say I am the founder of Creative Director Pro Academy. It's an 8-week transformative intensive program that I created for people like my old self, trying to figure out their next steps as a creative leader, because it's that type of information is not out there. And I saw that there was a dance class, there was a music class, there was a class to be a director. There's so many things that you can learn, except this new, very niche position that is the glue to so many fun things that we watch on television, whether it's the Grammys, the Super Bowl, a music video, a TV show series. There is a person that's coming up with that, and then basically creating a funnel of information so that all the departments stay on one page. And I'm just so grateful that this is something that I've created, because I wanted more information out there for people. This is a space for people to grow and be in a safe environment to figure it out. And it's very fulfilling. I'm fulfilled building this out, not only for myself, but for anybody who decides to invest in their time for it, because when they do, it's transformative. I'm super hands-on when they're around me. If you're shining, we're shining. I know that sounds cheesy, but let's be honest, this industry has a lot of negativity, and I just believe that it can be different. And You can't get things done if you don't lead the way. And out of that Creative Director Pro Academy, now we have CDPA Community. What is that? That's where we nurture the growth of like-minded creatives. So once you plug into the program and outside of it, you can't just cut it off. The best thing to do is nurture it, feed it. What else can you do with that creative spark? And that's what we do with peer speakers, guest speakers, field trips, etc. And I don't have all the answers. I really don't. I'm okay with saying that. It's just a great place to get feedback from other members too. If I waited for the next show or tour or fellow creative director to call on me, so much of who I am today would not exist. And I think, wow, what a shame that would be. So what do I mean when I say greenlight your own life? I mean, stop waiting for someone else to validate your vision. Stop waiting to be ready. Greenlighting your life means trusting your instinct enough to go first. It means starting messy. It means betting on your gifts before the job title changes. I've done this over and over and over again, and sometimes scared, often unsure, but always aligned. And this podcast is for anyone who's ready to do the same. There are no rules, people. That's the best thing. That's the coolest thing. I wake up and I say, there are no rules. You create the rules. And when you really let that happen in your life, then you can move boldly and think super big, super, super big. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking the time in your day to share this sliver of a moment with me, whether you're in your car, you're walking. You can find me on all social media at Tiana Today. Be sure to follow me wherever platform you're listening to me. Like it, share it, give your girls 5 stars. We're just getting started. And I can't wait to share more stories of how others decided to greenlight their own life. I adore you and I'm excited for you. Ciao, ciao for now.